Acha. So today we'll be doing the glass menagerie symbolism, which is a very important question, and we should know about it. What is the question all about it? So the glass menagerie symbolism is important in various ways because each symbol means something behind it which should be understood by the students properly. Otherwise, we will not be able to understand the meaning of this symbolism in the glass menagerie. So symbolism is a part and parcel of the glass menagerie. We have already known that tennis Williams has not succumbed to the temptation of the 19th century realism. It was a great movement during the time. 19th century realism was a great realism during the time. So he did not succumb to it. Now we will be doing this glass menagerie. He was well aware of the limitations of the 19th century realism. He felt handicapped by the confining power of the 19th century realism. So he decided to make that mode of realism flexible by adopting the technique of symbolism. Williams' realism is somewhat distinct. It is psychological. The glass menagerie has striven to bring into light the psychological symbolism, the psychological realism. So it gives a psychological touch to the characters, representation at the literary level. That is why tennis studios had to depend upon the technique of symbolism. In addition, it is the added goal of Williams to capture the reality of illusion. We are all in illusion, but to portray the reality of illusion, Williams felt a dire necessity of symbolism. Let's see what some of the symbols tennis studios use are and how these symbols are in the story. The glass menagerie we start with. This symbol retains crucial importance because the play itself is entitled on the basis of the symbol. The glass menagerie is a creative product of Laura's depicted inferiority. It is through this menagerie that Laura succeeded in depicting her heavy inferiority into the direction of creativity. Typically, this symbol for Laura's own innocent way of deflecting inferiority into an admirable outcome to dedicate creativity. The glass menagerie is also a symbol of isolation. It is a symbol of the artificiality of a handicapped and heavily interiorized creativity. So, in the same line of interpreting this symbol, it appears to be a symbol of reality of illusion. And maybe this reality of illusion is a worthy and pleasingly to Laura. It is befitting her way of her life. So Laura's way of life is somewhat different from others. In a nutshell, it is a symbol of escapism. So she wants to escape from the life that she lives. Laura's glass menagerie, as the title of the play informs us, the glass menagerie, a collection of animals, is just a minute. So, Laura's collection of glass animals figure represents a number of facets of her personality. Like the figurines, Laura is delicate, fanciful, and somewhat old fashioned. Glass is transparent, but when light is shined upon it correctly, it refracts an entire rainbow of colors. Similarly, Laura, though quiet and bland around strangers, is a source of strange, multifaceted delight to those who choose to look at her in the right light. The menagerie also represents the imaginative world to which Laura devotes herself, a world that is colorful and enticing, attracting, but based on fragile illusions. Then comes the imagery of the glass unicorn. Unicorn, there's no such animal as such, but in a glass menagerie, Laura had manufactured a unicorn of glass. So this unicorn has one horn only. The unicorn is totally extinct on Earth. Because we don't have it, Laura's existence in the external world is virtually extinct. So to make her life parallel to illusionary world, she makes a unicorn which is extinct in the world. The virtual extinction, a unicorn, is suggestive of the virtual extinction of Laura in the real world. So apart from this, the characteristics of a unicorn, it is easily breakable because it is of glass. So the brittleness of the unicorn suggests the fragility, the weakness of Laura. So when this unicorn fell into the hand of Jim O'Connor, it broke at once. This breaking away of the unicorn is illustrative of the emasculation and importance of Jim O'Connor's. The glass unicorn in Laura's collection significantly her favorite figure represents her peculiarity. As Jim points out, unicorns extinct in modern times and are lonesome as a result of being different from other horses. Laura too is unusual, lonely, and ill adapted to existence in the world in which she lives. The fate of the unicorn is also a smaller scale version of the Laura's fate in scene 7. So when Jim dances with and then kisses Laura, the unicorn's horn breaks off and it becomes just another horse, like the horse we see around us. So Jim advances into Laura with a new normalcy, making her seem more like just another girl. But the violence with which this normalcy is thrust upon her means that Laura cannot become normal without somehow shattering. Eventually, Laura gives Jim the unicorn as a souvenir. Without its horn, the unicorn is more appropriate for him than for her. And the broken figurine represents all that he has taken from her and destroyed in her. So in glass miniature, Williams utilizes powerful symbolism to illustrate Laura's peculiarity and eventual fate. Laura, who suffers emotionally from a physical disability of one leg, being shorter than the other, desperately seeks retreat from the reality by escaping to a blissful world of glass animals. Significantly, her favorite figure in the collection, the glass unicorn, is a powerful representation of her peculiarity and abnormality. When Jim violently breaks the unicorn's horn, the unicorn becomes like other horses, acting as a small scale version of Laura's, eventually shattering jolt into normalcy. Actually, she is brought to normalcy at this level. This incident can be interpreted as a detriment to any normalcy that Laura previously possessed, as Jim takes advantage of her fragility. Fragility can destroy the uniqueness, although it seems more likely that the shattering of the glass animal reveals and endows Laura with the strength to grow into an emotionally healthy person by attempting to live in the real world and choosing to leave behind the world of the glass menagerie. So the glass unicorn in Laura's collection functions as a powerfully symbolic embodiment of her peculiarity and singularity. Among the collection of glass animals, the ornament provides a retreat void of tension when she can't handle the pressures of reality. So Laura explains to Jim he stays on a shelf of horses that don't have horns and all of them seem to get along nicely together. She says, so similar to a glass ornaments, Laura's fragility or weakness is illustrated in a conversation with Jim when she says, glass is something that you have to take good care of. Furthermore, she subsequently reiterates to Jim, oh, be careful, if you breathe, it breaks. Furthermore, in the most realistic moment of Laura's life, Jim breaks the glass unicorn and symbolically Laura as well, representative of thrusting normalcy upon Laura. Jim bumps into unicorn on that Laura observes. Now it is just like all the other horses. By giving the hornless unicorn to Jim as a souvenir, Laura significantly exhibits the extent of her affection for him and illustrates the suitability that the unicorn now only has for Jim. Through the shattering of the unicorn, it can be inferred that Laura's transformation is complete. It's a painful experience that destroys any normalcy that previously existed in her. As she presents the unicorn to Jim as a gift, once he has broken both of them, Laura is symbolically removing herself from the company of the glass figurines. So the broken horn can be perceived as the turning that illuminates the escape that the figurines previously offered Laura, possibly leaving her in her own hopelessness and loneliness. Laura's fragility can be understood as a flaw. Jim takes advantage of her delicacy by apologetically breaking part of her. Laura's trusting vulnerability is exemplified when she exclaims in handing Jim the unicorn, go on, I trust you with him. So, William, in his book, writes the broken unicorn thus may become an embodiment of Laura's shattered dreams because it is not the real thing, it is the imagination, a way of looking at life. So, in addition, the horn is the only unique characteristic that sets a unicorn apart from the other horses. No such animal as unicorn, I told you previously. After they dance, Jim says to Laura, has anyone ever told you that you were pretty? Well, you are, in a very different way from anyone else, and all the nicer because of the difference too. Thus, the unicorn's broken horn can signify a loss of uniqueness, destroying that which made her beautiful. Finally, it may be interpreted that handing the broken unicorn over to Jim may be giving herself up to him, although all she says is a souvenir. One way to interpret the shattering of the unicorn is to perceive it as a painful experience that leaves Laura broken. However, it seems more likely that the incident reveals Laura's hidden strength. Although the figurines offered Laura a retreat, it seems more probable that this world she continuously escaped to did her harm. In pointing out that unicorns are extinct in the modern world, which is true, Jim reveals Laura's loneliness in her difference from the other horses because it does not exist. Non existence is a world. Laura's reaction to the unicorn's broken horn reveals the strength as she regards it as a positive event, saying, I will just imagine he had an operation in handing over the broken unicorn. Laura symbolically accepts that she must endure the prospects of pain to become an average content person, saying, maybe it is a blessing in disguise. Her ability to take the risk of the pain and step out of a comfort zone to experience heartbreak and adventure in this new world of love proves that she is deceptively stronger than she realizes. Jim validates the risk she takes when he exclaims, "Love is something that changes the whole world, Laura." As a result, Laura is the only character who is able to grow into an emotionally healthy person by choosing to leave behind the world of glass menagerie and attempt to live in the real world. So Williams utilizes powerful symbolism in the glass menagerie to illustrate Laura's peculiarity and eventful fate. Laura escapes to a blissful world of glass animals as she desperately yearns for an escape from reality. So when Jim violently breaks the unicorn's heart, the unicorn acts as a smaller scale version of Laura's eventually shattering jolt into normalcy, as it becomes just like other horses. So in the glass menagerie, why did Laura give the broken unicorn to Jim as a souvenir? Is the question. Technically, Laura becomes normal after she has been kissed by Jim. Unlike the unicorn who now looks like a regular horse can fit in with the other horses, Laura has passed into threshold in life. She's changed by experience with Jim. In giving him the unicorn representing a broken heart, she symbolically gives Tom away, asking Jim to take best care of him. Blue roses, she says. Like the glass unicorn, blue roses, Jim's high school nickname for Laura, is also symbol. Symbolizes Laura's unusualness yet allure, attraction. The name is also associated with the Laura's attraction to Jim and the joy that his kind treatment brings her. Furthermore, it recalls Dennis Williams' sister Rose, on whom the character of Laura is based. Then there comes the fire escape symbolism. Leading out to the Wingfield's apartment is a fire escape with a landing. The fire escape represents exactly what its name implies, an escape from the fires of frustration and dysfunction that rage in the Wingfield household. Laura slips on the fire escape in scene 4, highlighting her inability to escape from her situation. Tom, on the other hand, frequently steps out onto the landing to smoke, anticipating his eventful or eventual getaway. Many of the symbols used in the play try to symbolize some form of escape or difference between reality and illusion. The first symbol presented in the first scene is the fire escape. So this represents the bridge between the illusory world of the Wingfields and the world of reality. This bridge seems to be a one-way passage, but the direction varies for each character. For Tom, the fire escape is the way out of the world of Amanda and Laura, an entrance into the world of reality. This can be seen when Amanda sends Laura to go to the store. Laura trips on the fire escape. This also shows that Laura's fears and emotions greatly affect her physical condition with more than normal animal people. Not animal but people. Another symbol presented these way more with Tom than in any other of the other characters. Tom's habit of going to the movies shows us his longing to leave the apartment and head out into the world of reality, a place where one can find adventure. And Tom, being a poet, can understand the needs of man to long for adventure and romance. But he is kept from entering reality by Amanda, who criticizes him as being a fresh, a selfish dreamer. But Tom has made steps to escape into reality by transferring the payment of a bill, light bill to pay for his dues in the Merchant Seamen's Union. Another symbol which deals with the both Amanda and Laura is Jim O'Connor's. To Laura, Jim represents the one thing she fears and does not want to face reality. Jim is a perfect example of the common man, a person with no real outstanding quality. In fact, Jim is rather awkward, which can be seen when he dances with Laura. To Amanda, Jim represents the days about of her youth when she went frolicking about picking jonquils, Jonquils, and supposedly having 17 gentlemen callers on one Sunday afternoon. Although Amanda desires to see Laura settle down with a nice young man, it is hard to tell whether she wanted a gentleman caller to be invited for Laura or for herself. When Amanda tells Laura to practice typing, Laura instead plays with a glass. When Amanda is heard walking up the fire escape, she quickly hides the collection. She does this to hide a secret world from the others. So when Tom leaves to go to the movie in an angered rush, he accidentally breaks some of the Laura's glass. The shattered glass represents Laura's understanding of Tom's responsibilities to her. Also, the unicorn, which is important, represents Laura directly. Jim O'Connor, the most practical and realistic character of Jim O'Connor, is himself a symbolic character. He has been held as an emissary of an external world. For the most part, Jim is realistic. In comparison to other characters, he is somewhat safe from the danger of illusion. It is he who stressed upon the importance of thinking, acting, and living in line with realism. No matter how tall a claim of being realistic, his claim suffers serious defects. To overcome his present difficulties and obstacles, Jim has been choosing new fields like radio engineering and rhetoric. His choice is practical and realistic, but his overemphasis upon the alchemy of the future is dangerously risky. It is an act of illusion to negate the present with the device of the future. So in this regard, Jim appears to be an unconscious victim of illusion. Now, the question might arise, what is the significance of Laura's glass menagerie, especially the symbolic unicorn in Tennis Williams' play, The Glass Menagerie? So, in addition to the glass menagerie, especially the glass unicorn, symbolizing Laura's fragility and feelings of freakishness, the glass further symbolizes her hidden inner radiance. This radiance, her inner radiance symbolized through the glass's ability to radiate light, as she points out to Jim when she hands him the unicorn. Holding over the light, he loves the light. You see how the light shines through him. Little does she realize that she equally emits light due to her gentleness, goodness, and prettiness. The loss of the unicorn's horn further symbolizes Laura's shedding a belief that she is freakish, a belief Jim helps her shed by commenting that they never noticed her brace and that he wished she had made more friends, and by conversing with her, dancing with her, calling her pretty, and kissing her. Yet one argues against the interpretation that Laura gives him the broken unicorn after he announces he's engaged means that she is relinquishing her understanding that she isn't freakish of giving Jim the new feeling of normalcy that is inspired in her. Instead of one might argue that it symbolizes that despite the discouraging news, she is now knows that she no longer needs to seek refuge in a menagerie, especially not in a figurine, but she thinks represents her freakishness. Jim has not only made her realize that her perceptions of herself are wrong, but she also made said that she's actually worse, special. These are not revelations one can easily shrink from one's own gain. One can reach a more positive interpretation of her giving Jim The broken unicorn when one takes a more careful look at the final stage direction. Though Tom abandons his mother and sister, the stage directions indicate that though Laura's head is covering her face during Tom's final speech, at the very end of the speech, Laura lifts her face to smile at her mother. The smile is not the indicative of a completely tragic ending for Laura. Instead, it indicates that by the end of the play, both Laura and her mother have learned to let go of their past torments and embrace a future in which they can survive on their own, without Tom, who only served as a crutch, preventing them from fully healing because she relied on him so much for their survival. Laura is like a glass animal because she's so fragile and easily broken. There is a special affinity between Laura and the unicorn. The unicorn does not exist in the modern world just as Laura seems unable to exist in modern society. She has a lip and feels she has a limp and feels deformed. The unicorn has only one horn, which makes him different from the rest of the animals. So this symbolism is reinforced when Laura and Jim are dancing and Jim accidentally breaks the horn of the unicorn. Laura says, now he is just like all other animals. She too seems more like any other girl now that Jim has made her feel special. Of course, the irony is Jim is engaged, and at that news, Laura gives the unicorn to Jim, indicating he's taking her normalcy with him. The play is embedded with other minor symbols. The rainbow that comes from the color of the Laura's glass menagerie is a symbol of illusion. Rainbow, of course, we think is also an illusion, even though it has a scientific significance. The blowing out of light is also a symbol of forthcoming disappointment resulting from the gradual revelation of the fact that Jim O'Connor is the fiancé of some other girl. The setting Winfrey's house in the urban tenement is designed to be symbolic of isolation. Amanda's moral platitudes rise and shine. This symbolizes the conviction that moral purity and refinement is a final passport to success. The character Laura itself is symbolic of the passing freshness and fragile flashiness of Laurel. The grinning portrait of Tom's father is symbolic of the embedded memory of betrayal and isolation, as reflected in the mind of the character. So we see that, what do we see? We see that this glassberry menagerie is full of images. The images has to be taken from the perspective of the characters themselves and their behavior and their attitude towards each other, and also the existence of the story. They are all made up with the fact that they have been made for what? For their existence and, of course, their non-entity in themselves. That they are there, but yet they are not there in themselves because they are in some other world. So you see that this is the story of the symbol of this very important novel, The Glass Menagerie.